On a spring day in 1972, Jeannette Kamahele gathered her books, said goodbye to her roommate, and walked down the road, hoping to hitch a ride to campus. This was one of the last times Jeannette was seen. In the years that followed, women's bodies were discovered across Sonoma County, their deaths shrouded in mystery. Then, in 1979, hikers stumbled upon a skeleton in a remote area. Could this be Jeannette? This is her story.
Hi, I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Amy.
And you're listening to She Goes by Jane. At the end of this episode and every episode, we will be joined by a special guest who will read an original poem by Amy Baker about the women we're featuring. This week, we are joined by two guest readers, Enya Flack and Megan Peta Hill.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Amy.
Vanessa, can you believe it is already April?
I mean, in one way, no, but also, thank goodness.
It is my birthday month.
It is.
So.
Is that exciting for you?
I always end up hating my birthday.
Oh, no. So It's not exciting.
No. No. But I am, my birthday gift, I mean, technically it's for my husband, but it's also from me to me, is to, like, finally finish my home office. So that is in the offerings this month. So
it's time. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I've picked my paint colors. I'm ready to go. The dog is happy. I am happy. If the dog is happy, you will be happy. He and I, the dog and I, are going to have a beautiful space. So Story, that's his name, and I are going to enjoy our office space together.
And he's more than a dog. He's like your personal assistant.
He really is. He's like my best friend, my personal assistant. Like we are always with one another.
It borders on unhealthy.
It is a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But you know what else is happening in April?
What?
We have picked our April selection for our She Goes by Jane book club.
That's right.
And if you all are not joining in yet, I encourage you all to. So this month is more literary, less thrillery.
Is it more like, it's a little mysterious?
A little mysterious. And I'm sure very well written because I have loved her other book. It is The Glass Hotel. I keep on saying The Glass Castle, but it's an entirely different book.
It is a hotel.
It is a hotel.
Yes.
Of glass.
Glass.
By Emily St. John Mandel. And I loved her book, Station 11, so much. And this year I realized, like, if I loved that book so much, like, why haven't I been reading more of her?
Yeah. So now we will.
I
am actually excited about this one. So
okay. So 2 things about our book club. You can always comment on our social media posts to talk about it. We also have a Patreon where Vanessa and I record a little, like, audio conversation about the book once we're done. Mm-hmm. And also there's a Storygraph read-along. So you can hop on to Storygraph, join in, and participate in the discussion boards. So why do we have a book club? Vanessa and I are both writers and readers, and this is just another way for us to participate in conversations about missingness, what that topic means. And it's just like another way for us to, like, connect with all of you all about, like, a shared passion for books and literature.
I think it's kind of fun. It's like almost like a buddy read too, the way we do it, because we're reading it together and then we're talking about it. And I think we're learning a lot about each other and what we like in our books through this process too. I know we've already been in lots of book clubs together for a long time, but we don't have as much control over the books.
Yes.
In those. And this one, it's either you or I picking, and we're coming to, like, an agreement on it. And then we get to be like, oh, the book you picked, or yay, the book you picked. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that said, we have a lot to talk about today. And Vanessa, this is not just a warning for Vanessa. It is actually a warning for everyone. There is some very upsetting quotes in here that I just sat with for a very long time. So just to forewarn people when we get to that part.
Okay. I think I might know what you're talking about. Was it something to do with an article?
Yes.
Okay, you put that on Facebook.
I did put it on Facebook.
I did read that, and it was really gross.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, there is an upsetting part. I did not know that's what we were covering today.
Yes, so that's what we're talking about today.
Okay.
So
Amy likes to keep me on my toes, so we don't talk about what we're talking about ahead of time so that I can actually react to it. But that one I don't know the rest of the case, but I do know that article, and it was awful.
yes, and it is in here, and it is particularly upsetting. I just wrestled with it for a long time. So, okay. Well, we're going to get into our episode because I really want us to talk about this missing woman. That April of 1972, the young women of Sonoma County, California, were sharing stories. Without public transportation running to the more outlying areas of the county, many of them were hitchhiking to their classes at Sonoma State College and Santa Rosa Junior College. They'd thumb for rides along highway on-ramps in order to get to their classes, and when they were ready to head home, they'd often gather in groups near the college entrances until passing motorists slowed down and picked them up. They'd often be alone with these drivers. Some of these drivers just brought them to and from their destinations safely. But the women were all worried about rape, assault, injury, and even death. But they saw little other option. The county had run a bus service for a while, but they thought it wasn't profitable enough to go to the smaller communities. And the women often couldn't afford their own transportation. If they wanted to go to college, this is what they were risking. So to keep each other safe, they'd share stories. Watch out for this man or that man. Don't get into this car or that one. But the whisper network they devised couldn't keep everyone safe. The year before, there were 80 reports of female hitchhikers being raped in Sonoma County, and that was just the women who reported it.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I wonder, did anyone ever do like percentages?
Of
I'm
like
curious
what's
now,
the...
like how many women hitchhiked compared to how many women were raped?
Yeah, I don't know, but 80 sexual assaults of female hitchhikers in 1 year in one county.
One county.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, that April 25th, a young college woman gathered her books for her classes at Santa Rosa Junior College. She and her roommate lived all the way out in Cotati, a good 9 miles from the campus. Even the walk to the 101 highway on-ramp where she usually got her rides was a good half mile down the dirt-lined road. This is the story of Jeannette Kamahele, who stepped out of her rental house at around 9:30 a.m. that Tuesday morning and never returned. Now, Jeannette is one of the many missing women we don't know much about. She had just turned 20 years old that February and was attending Santa Rosa Junior College, what we now more regularly refer to as like a community college. Her father was in the U.S. Navy, and Jeannette had grown up in Yokohama, Japan, for at least part of her childhood. Once at college, she lived with her roommate, Nora Morales, in a small ranch home in an unincorporated area of Cotati. And it would be Nora who would first notice that Jeannette was missing when she didn't return home that day after classes were done. Nora immediately knew something was wrong and contacted friends to see if they'd seen Jeannette that day at classes. They told Nora they hadn't. Jeannette had not made it to campus that day. Nora would later say this is how she knew something was wrong. Nora said, she was very stable and very conscientious at school. She wouldn't have missed her classes. She's not at all flighty. She wouldn't just take off without telling anyone. By midnight, when Jeannette still hadn't returned, Nora called the sheriff's office. It wouldn't be until the next day, though, for an all-points bulletin to be sent out. Now, like many disappearances we talk about, the response to Jeannette's case seemed sluggish despite the fact that there were other women and girls who had recently gone missing or were murdered in the county. Just a few months before, in February, 2 high school students, Maureen Sterling, who was 12, and Yvonne Weber, who was 13, had disappeared while hitchhiking. They were still missing by April when Jeannette disappeared. And just the month before, in March, another Santa Rosa Junior College student, Kim Allen, had also been seen hitchhiking when she disappeared. Now, unlike Maureen and Yvonne, Kim's body was actually found the next day. She'd been bound and strangled to death with what was thought to be a wire or a thin cord.
Now, are Maureen and Yvonne still missing?
No, but at the time that this happened, that Jeannette went missing, they were.
Right. No, but I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no, so they've been found.
They have been not alive?
Not alive.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of what we're going to talk about is just a lot of death in this episode.
Okay.
Now, in the coming months, it was Nora, Jeanette's roommate, who would distribute over 200 leaflets with Jeanette's photo and details on them, hoping for information. But it wouldn't be until June 4th that the sheriff's deputy, Gary Henshaw, would announce to the public that during the course of his investigation, he had spoken to a young man who had known Jeanette and had actually seen her the morning that she disappeared. The man said that he had seen her near the highway on-ramp that connected Sierra Avenue, which was the road Jeanette lived on, to the 101. He noticed that she was looking for a ride, but when he slowed down, another vehicle was already pulling over. He said that there was a man driving a 1950 to 1952 faded brown pickup truck with a homemade wooden camper covering the truck bed. He said the camper's sides were covered with roofing shakes. So this is like a pretty recognizable vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that somebody like that just thinks about this forever?
Yes.
After something like
absolutely.
this happens? Like, he was almost to her first.
Yeah. Like,
how haunting.
Like, if I had just left the house, like, 30 seconds sooner.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have that feeling.
Yeah. So, like, that he saw her, and he probably just thought nothing of it. Like,
right.
oh, yeah, I'll see her on campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it sounds like this friend didn't get a good look at this driver. He just noted that he was young, maybe about 20 to 23 years old, and that he was a white male with what he described as an Afro-style hairstyle. Now, Jeanette's friend would be the last person that we know of to have seen Jeanette. Now, this is one of the few leads in Jeanette's disappearance. Her father, who was stationed overseas at the time, and sources differ on whether or not that was Japan or Vietnam, he returned to join the search in the United States not long after Jeanette disappeared. And like Nora, he too was launching this investigation independently, so he's looking for her on his own. He left at the end of July, not any closer to finding his daughter. Now, Jeanette's disappearance, along with the disappearances of Maureen and Yvonne, and the murder of Kim, terrified the local women, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this danger was certainly not abstract at this point. It's not just like, oh, hey, be worried about, how you're getting to and fro, right? It's like, actually,
this is happening.
This is happening.
This is a problem.
Yeah. Now, on the Sonoma State campus, one student knew that she needed to keep other women safe. Kunidi Van Hoven actually had started looking for solutions to the transportation issue. Most Santa Rosa Junior College students lived in independent housing away from campus, and on her own campus, Kunidi knew that there was a good number who were living in campus dorms, but that there was another portion of the student population that didn't. They were living off campus. So they're commuting in on their own or hitchhiking to campus. And she talked to the Golden Gate Transit System, asking them to provide service to the Sonoma State campus or to reroute their current route to major roadways, and she was told that they couldn't do that under their current contractual agreements. Kunidi tried meeting with the transportation boards to try to facilitate the return of the shuttle system. Now, this had actually been a short-lived program in 1967, but it lost money so quickly that the system was abandoned soon after it started. The charge to go from where Jeanette had lived to Sonoma State campus, for instance, cost about 10 cents each way, so that's actually close to like $1 today with inflation. And like on the surface, that actually seems like maybe like pretty affordable, but it was theorized at the time that this actually was like too much for students, particularly those without jobs. And to be honest, at the time, jobs were not easy to come by. Even Kunidi brushed aside accolades for the work she was doing, trying to figure out how to solve the transportation issue by saying, I can't find a job, so I had plenty of time. There was no way I could rationalize not doing something. And with that time, Kunidi decided that if officials weren't going to address the issue, she was. She began organizing her campus's first transportation switchboard. Gathering together a team of other students, this switchboard operated from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Students who needed rides could call into the switchboard, and the team would coordinate those rides for them. Locals even volunteered to provide safe rides as part of the system. But there was another service that the switchboard ended up offering, and that's the dissemination of information about who was safe to travel with and who wasn't. Again, the year before, 80 rapes of female hitchhikers had been reported to the county, but that was only a small fraction of how many rapes and assaults were actually happening. Many who hadn't reported their attacks to the authorities felt comfortable and compelled to report this information to the switchboard, and soon the switchboard operators began a list of descriptions of men who might be rapists. And some of these descriptions actually helped identify potential serial rapists, as some of the women were describing men with similar features or cars.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, because 80 would be way lower than the number.
Yeah.
Way lower, because most women actually don't and wouldn't have at the time
Exactly.
reported it. So that's really unsettling.
Right. And so, there were women who just didn't feel comfortable going forward to law enforcement. So, the switchboard actually offered a place for them to share their stories and also document what happened so that they could help keep other women safe. Now, Canuti herself knew that this was important. She'd been hitchhiking herself since she turned 17, but in the recent months, she was warned by one of the men that she should stop. She also knew that something had happened to Jeannette, and she knew of at least 4 rapes that had happened to female hitchhikers in the week before Jeanette's disappearance. She also knew that those were only the ones that she personally was aware of.
She's only aware of 4, but she knows that those 4 took place in the week before. So 4 in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows there's more.
Yeah. So that's just the ones that she's hearing of.
It's really disturbing.
Yeah. And this is how, you can't necessarily get a good picture of how many assaults were happening, because the police, they know of a fraction of the reported ones. And then the whisper network, right? The people who are telling other people, they only know a certain number of them.
Right.
So, you can't even get, a good picture of how many assaults were happening. Now, Canuti's work is extremely important, but these efforts to keep women safe were not well received by everyone. At least 11 men protested the switchboard in an attempt to end it. One said, "The raping of hitchhikers is inevitable, and that female hitchhikers should relax and regard it as a learning experience."
That was part of that article that you posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another said, "Hell, the chicks like it."
Yeah. So I don't know how anybody could say that to a reporter. Oh yeah, the chicks like being raped.
Yeah. And
After somebody else says that women need to get used to it, relax, and see it as a learning experience. So you're going to see a violent attack as a learning experience, and or you might like it.
Exactly.
I don't know how that can be said to a reporter, and how that can be published, and how that can how have we let people get away with these things?
Mm-hmm. That they obviously felt so comfortable in their viewpoint.
Untouchable.
Exactly.
Untouchable in their viewpoint.
That they could just freely, publicly state that. Publicly be protesting.
There are no repercussions for these men, and they know it.
Yeah. Socially, no repercussions, right? That they could go forward. They could stand outside a switchboard that's trying to organize safe rides for people and protest it to freely state these thoughts about,
How can you be against somebody else's safety? The only reason you're against that safety, and the only reason you're saying hell chicks like it, is because you've done it.
Right.
In my opinion. If that's your attitude, you are a rapist.
Mm-hmm. And it's just horrifying. But this actually, it really helps illuminate, right? Exactly what Nudie was trying to keep women safe from, right?
How did she, how do you live in this time? How do you hear these things that are happening as another woman who is trying so hard to keep women safe and not implode? It's just...
Yeah. Yeah.
This woman's a hero. For even trying, and for even putting herself out there, and for, risking probably her own mental and physical safety, right? And well-being. Right.
And so what her approach is okay, we have a problem with women hitchhiking, right? Mm-hmm. How can we solve it? What's the barriers that's keeping them from traveling safely? And it's okay, transportation is the core issue here. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, misogyny and rape culture, but, how do we get women to and from their destinations safely? And so, that was her approach. Now, the winter Jeannette went missing, reporter Eileen Hampton covered the issue of hitchhiking for local college students. She interviewed Nudie for one of the articles in the series. Now, as part of her process, Eileen drove around looking for hitchhikers herself. So the reporter is just like, where are these hitchhikers? Right? And she really actually didn't have to go far. She said on January 5th, which was a Friday, between 2 and 3:30 in the afternoon, she stopped at the main exit of Sonoma State. And there she counted 30 women, 32 men, and 1 dog waiting for rides. I'm assuming the dog was a companion.
I'm hoping he wasn't alone.
Right. Now, she said that most of the women told her that they didn't actually live all that far from campus, but that they hitchhiked because it was easier for them. Also, for those who did have cars, parking on Sonoma State campus was about $13 for non-reserved spaces per semester. So that's close to $100 today. And the real issue was also that most of the spots were taken up by 10 a.m. So you would register, but that didn't necessarily mean you had a spot to park once you got to campus, right? Mm-hmm. So it was cheaper and in many ways more convenient to hitchhike.
Just out of curiosity, because I know that there seems to be more men than women hitchhiking. Did any of the men ever report any kind of assault?
Yeah, so that has to have been happening.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to mention a little bit in here, but it's not, we do know that men underreport assaults.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. They are assaulted, and I think there's some stigma around it, and They do not report.
Now, this was not addressed in Eileen's article at all, because I also think that the stigma and even acknowledging that this could be happening to men existed as well, right? So my guess, yes, it had to be happening.
Right, especially to some of the younger men that are also college students. I'm assuming that a lot of them also suffered.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Different types of assault, right? Now, Eileen spoke with the women who she noted they were tending to be picked up faster than the men, so it was easier for women to get rides than the men. And most of the women she talked to actually were carrying weapons on them of some sort. So a knife for one woman. Another had a can opener attached to a beaded wristband. So some had said that they had been assaulted before. Some knew about the switchboard, but felt like they lived so close that they didn't want to bother anyone by utilizing it. And others hadn't heard about Canuti's switchboard project at all. Now, for her reporting series, Eileen also interviewed Sergeant Shirley Andriata, who was trying to approach the issue in a different way. So it's vastly different than Canuti's rideshare idea.
Okay.
And she saw essentially that to keep people safe, you should keep them from hitchhiking at all, right?
Okay.
So her idea was to educate girls and women about the dangers of hitchhiking. In the first 11 months of 1972, she knew of 47 attempted or actual rape cases in the county that had been reported, and of those, 33 involved hitchhiking.
Okay.
So this seems like a precipitous drop from the year before.
Right.
So I have a lot of questions about that.
Right.
But now, Sergeant Andriata said that most of those victims were actually under the age of 18. So her goal was to get into high schools and start educating young women. And her presentations were pretty startling and sobering. To emphasize that safety in numbers was an illusion, she told them about a case of a young woman who was hitchhiking with 2 male friends. They were all beaten and the woman was raped. She also showed brutal photos of a young woman who had been severely beaten while hitchhiking. Sergeant Andriata actually had to stop showing those images after parents complained of their graphic nature.
Now, in addition to scaring the crap out of these kids, did she also offer them alternatives?
No, so
So it's just don't do it because you'll die, but we're not going to talk about a safe way of getting places.
Yeah, this is actually one of the things. I recently read a book called The Cost of Fear, right? Which talks about, it really divides up safety by compliance versus safety by resistance, right? So, the switchboard, that's essentially saying, like, we have a problem. What's a different avenue to get people to and from campus? And this is just like the safety by compliance, which is just like to scare you of whatever is the scary thing and make you stop doing it just by fear.
Right.
Right.
Did she ever pull aside maybe the boys in the high school and be like, hey, don't rape anyone?
Yeah. Right. Now, yeah, probably not. Right.
Probably not. Yeah, because we don't have those discussions, do we?
No. So it's like, here, women, this behavior will, make you unsafe. And like, I still see this kind of stuff all the time. Like just recently, and actually it's hilarious because like not hilarious, but in The Cost of Fear, she talks about this like meme that goes around that she gets sent all the time about like things that women should or shouldn't do. Right. And it's like, I also saw it pop up on my Facebook, like in the same week that I'm listening to this book. So I was like, oh, there it is. Like, that's weird. But it's like this meme, and perhaps some of our listeners have seen it before too, which is like, essentially, we talk to, who's the we? I don't know. Rapists, what rapists? In prison. And they said that they targeted women for these reasons. And it was like a list of...
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, don't wear your hair in a ponytail. Don't be on your phone. Don't sit in your car after you went to the grocery store. Don't put on headphones. Don't... And that is all safety by compliance,
don't
right?
Don't be in
like,
public. Don't breathe.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in a lot of ways, women have really shaped their lives in ways that it's like, this is the messaging. Like, you should be afraid and like, you shouldn't be doing these things. Not like, oh, there's an issue. How do we address this? Right. Which is why I like the switchboard option much better than the just like scare the heck out of people.
Me too.
With no other option. Right. Because like there is a transportation issue in this area that is causing problems.
If you're going to scare people, you need to give an alternate choice. Like,
right. Yeah. And of course, none of it addresses like attackers at all.
Right. Like, let's not talk to the boys.
No. We'll be back in a moment. But despite everything, so despite Nudie Van Hoven's work, Sergeant Shirley Andreatta's work, Jeannette would not be the last person who would go missing that year or the next or the next. In November of 1972, Lori Lee Cursa, who was a 13-year-old middle school student, ran away from home. Lori was known to hitchhike, and she was seen around the area. Someone said that they saw her nearly 2 weeks later in Santa Rosa, but that the last time someone remembered seeing her was just before December. On December 14th, her body was found 50 feet down an embankment from Calistoga Road. Initially, the cause of her death was unknown, but it was later determined that she likely died from a broken neck. And as I go through, a lot of these place names are going to be repeated, and I think that's kind of an important part of this story. So,
as you go through what? Are you going to list more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because not long after she was found, on December 28th, the bodies of the two teenage friends, Maureen Sterling and Yvonne Weber, they were found off of Franz Valley Road. Like Lori, they were found down an embankment. Because of the skeletonized condition of their bodies, their cause of death could not be determined, but bindings found in a nearby bush suggested that they could have at some point have been found. And like Lori, the girls were also known to hitchhike. They'd tell their parents they were going to go ice skate, and after their parents dropped them off, they'd hitchhike to a local park to hang out with an older crowd. The night they disappeared, the two were doing just that, and some said the two girls were hoping to get a ride to the San Jose bowling alley that night.
And that kind of proves that there isn't safety in numbers.
Exactly. It was these two.
You would assume like, oh, okay, she's going out with a friend. She's a bit safer than if she went by herself.
Exactly.
And then they both wind up down the embankment.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the discoveries of Maureen and Yvonne, though, that just left Jeannette as their active missing persons case related to kind of this hitchhiking situation. And at the time, an officer said, she's probably out there somewhere too. We'll probably find her someday.
So they know she's not alive anymore.
Yeah. So what is interesting with Jeannette's case is that, very often people will be like, we don't know what happened. Maybe something happened to her. Maybe she ran away. Maybe something else. Mm-hmm. But like In Jeanette's case, I think that the assumption immediately is that, like, she has been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've not seen any other speculation about what might have happened to her.
Just, it seemed like with what was happening at the time, it's hard to deny that that's such a huge possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, despite them believing that at some point they'll find her next, Jeanette's body is not the next one they'd find. 15-year-old Carolyn Davis had run away from home well north of Sonoma County and Shasta County in February of 1973. Carolyn had planned to never return home, and she actually found her way to her sister's place in Humboldt County. There, her sister claimed that Carolyn told her that she was afraid for her life after witnessing a double murder. Worried that she was in danger, Carolyn just left the state hitchhiking to Illinois, but then she hitchhiked back. So she is cross-country hitchhiking at the age of 15. Now, reportedly, her grandmother last saw her in California on July 15th, 1973. Caroline's body was found a little more than 2 weeks later. She'd been killed with strychnine, and her body dumped just a few feet away from where Maureen and Yvonne had been found.
Are people thinking this is like a serial killer? Is it one person? Is it a few people and it's unrelated? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, so I think at this time, right, like as it's happening, they're just trying to like, what is this, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
do we ever know? Are you going to tell us later?
You're very impatient.
I am. Sorry. I always am.
So we are going to get into some of the
Theories on that?
that-
Because it seems like
a little
there's
later.
many, many rapists, but I'm just trying to figure out if there's just one murderer.
Now, December 1973, Teresa Walsh.
You're still listing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Teresa Walsh, she's a little bit different. She's a 23-year-old mom. She hitchhiked frequently around California, and she often used the 101. Remember, this is the same that Jeanette was on, right? So she used this as kind of her main connector to go from place to place. And on that December, she wanted to return home to see her son. On December 28th, 1974, kayakers actually found her body in Mark West Creek. She was nude, hogtied, and submerged in the water, partially beneath a log. And investigators had to wade into the frigid waters to recover her. Investigators believe that she may have ended up in the water after being thrown from above from a spot on the Franz Valley Road. This spot is also not far from where Caroline, Maureen, and Yvonne had all been found. And then things kind of pause, but in early July 1979, so this is 7 years after Jeanette went missing, hikers were in an area where there was a steep ravine that they had to navigate. It was remote, and it was only kind of accessible by like a washed out fire trail. There, they stumbled upon the remains of a woman. She was hogtied. She had a rope, possibly a Venetian blind cord or a clothesline around her neck and hands, in a manner that was very similar to the way Teresa's body had been found. On the ground near her, there were some metal grommets and pieces of fabric, so her body had been there for quite a while. And these seemed to indicate that she had been placed in a duffel bag or maybe some sort of laundry bag. This location was just 100 yards from where Lori had been found, so both were located off of Calistoga Road. Now, many had hoped that at long last they had found Jeanette. They consulted with Jeanette's dentist in Japan. Though he didn't have her dental records, he said he was able to reconstruct her chart from memory.
I call bullshit on that. Do you think he could?
Well, I don't know. This seems really far-fetched to me.
How many mouths has he been in?
Like, I'm not a dentist, so I can't say for certain. But, like, Jeanette did have bridge work. So maybe, like, her specific dental work actually was distinct in a way that he remembered. Now, it's those recollections that they compared to the unidentified woman's dental work, so they went with it.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm a photographer, and I spend a lot of time with people's faces. But if you ask me to reconstruct someone's face that I haven't seen in a few years, I can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Like you know your students well, but could you just write a piece in their style?
No, but also sometimes it's like, well, I taught well over 1,000 students, and sometimes I run into one and like, I'm like, what is their name? What is their name? What is their name? What is their name? Right. But This is what they're using.
I know. I don't like it.
Okay, now, according, though, to his reconstructed dental rememberings,
Okay.
like, they were not a match to Jeanette's. Now, more like, some red hair was found near the woman's remains, and Jeannette didn't have red hair, and there was also a contact case with a cherry print on it, also located nearby, and she didn't wear contact lenses, so things were lining up.
So it's not her.
Not her. Now, in addition, the woman had previously had a broken bone. So in some places it says this was a rib, and so in other places an arm. I love discovering these dramatically inconsistent reportings. Mm-hmm. But in either case, Jeannette didn't have those injuries. Does that more reassure you?
That's more reassuring for me. All the contacts, the hair, the break that had healed, those are concrete. But to say that you can remember someone's dental, like, what did he say? He was going to, like...
Yeah. So,
her chart from memory?
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Now, without anyone to claim this woman, though, they buried her, or they planned to bury her, at the Chapel of the Chimes Cemetery in Santa Rosa. So... in the years since, her identity continues to be unknown. She's now referred to as Sonoma County Jane Doe, and this will be the 46th year without her name. And it will be 53 years this year since Jeannette went missing. Now, most people who are hearing these stories were like you. They were wondering, like, who is doing these? Like, who's killing these women, right? Now, in the years since this disappearance, the murders would become known as the Santa Rosa Hitchhiker Murders. And so... that's kind of the key term that people will search when looking for these cases. And the guesses about who may have been responsible have been quite plentiful over the years, if you can imagine. Now, one of the most persistent theories links these crimes to the infamous Zodiac Killer. Now, despite significant differences in the modus operandi, the reasoning behind this theory largely hinges on the timeline. And these murders occurred after the last confirmed Zodiac attack, so during a period when the killer's activities seemed to stop. So there's some questions. Did he just move?
And we are thinking it's one guy that did all of these?
So this was, in this theory...
okay.
It is this one guy.
Am I getting ahead of it?
Yeah. Now, some argue that the Santa Rosa cases could represent a shift in approach rather than a complete cessation of violence for him. So, additionally, one of the original and primary Zodiac suspects had at one time lived in Santa Rosa. So that adds another layer to the speculation. Now, further fueling this theory are the geographic overlaps between confirmed Zodiac crime scenes and the area where some of the Santa Rosa victims were last seen. And this is despite the fact that the Zodiac was known for targeting couples or individuals in what we would call like a controlled environment, so parked cars, while the victims in Santa Rosa were women who had been hitchhiking. So that's an entirely different pattern, right? Now, still, some suggest that the Zodiac Killer was responsible. He may have adapted his methods to take advantage of different types of or new opportunities to evade detection. And the connection remains one of the most prevalent theories surrounding these crimes, but there's no definitive evidence that was ever linking the Zodiac Killer to the Santa Rosa murders.
Okay. So
now,
that is the number one belief?
That is one of the ones that, like, just perennially gets brought up, right? Okay. So, like, you can't even, like, go to the Zodiac Killer's Wikipedia page without, like, there's the addendum about the Santa Rosa hitchhiking situation, right? Now, there's another infamous serial killer who we will actually end up discussing in the future here on our podcast, who lived in the northwestern United States, if you will. He was questioned in connection with the Santa Rosa Hitchhiker Murders, though he denied any involvement. Now, investigators, after a thorough review, also did not believe he was responsible for these crimes, but you will see them mentioned in conjunction with him. The reason is, this is for many reasons why they don't think he is, but primarily because these are locations where the victims were discovered, kind of suggest that the perpetrator was likely familiar with the area, particularly kind of like the more remote regions, right? And this was something that didn't align with this man's usual pattern. Though he did sometimes drive long distances to find victims, he had lived well outside the area where the murders occurred. And this made it seem unlikely that he would have been able to navigate these specific locations without kind of more of a local knowledge. Now, again, though this was a theory that was considered at the time, there's no direct evidence connecting him to the crime, and investigators quickly turned their focus elsewhere. However, kind of the mere speculation surrounding his involvement kind of really speaks to how widespread the theories surrounding the identity of this perpetrator have become, right? This is one of those like big
I know who you're
mysteries.
talking about,
Yeah.
but yeah. Wouldn't it be nice, like while you're talking about this, I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if we just lived in a world where we didn't have this job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like going through it and just like, we're trying to figure out who did this, and then you're naming all these serial killers who did all of these horrible things, and like the quantity of women that are dead at the hands of somebody having what, like
Yeah.
their moment? I don't know. How can
Yeah, because it's just like
how can someone's moment be enough to eliminate a person's whole life?
we're literally here discussing like, is it this serial killer who
Right.
killed a lot of people, or is it this
This one.
serial killer who killed a lot of people?
Right. And those are the ones that got killed. What about all the ones that just got raped?
Yeah.
Just got raped because
Yeah.
they needed to learn that lesson, right? Like,
Right.
it sucks.
So, which is why, like, you know,
This one's like an exhausting episode.
this is, yeah. And it's just like, this is why,
Not that the other ones aren't.
because we're now, you know, over 80 episodes in of a lot of women who a good number of them were likely killed. Not every
And that's-
person's disappearance is connected to a perpetrator, but this is exactly why we don't use their names, because these two, right, the unknown Zodiac Killer and this, I'm
Other
not
guy.
naming him,
Yeah.
the other guy, their names are household names, right? But Jeannette
Is not.
is not.
No.
Kim, Yvonne, right?
Not. Yeah.
Now, the theories, of course, persist.
They're going to continue.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to continue.
So, you know, recently, I already knew that we were doing this episode, and I just saw, like, kind of like these social media posts, like, blowing up like crazy all over the place from a woman who says that her father, who's on his deathbed, has confessed to these crimes.
Do we believe that?
Like, I don't even know, right?
Okay.
Like, this is one of those, like, I guess we'll see about anything, right? Now, this goes back to your question that you keep on asking, because, like, because of the location these women were found and the similarities of what happened to them, it is easy to assume that they might all be connected, right?
Right. But are they? Because
are they?
remember, like, the Long Island situation? There were multiple guys.
Yeah. So, like, are there?
Right.
Now, some investigators began to believe there could be two or more perpetrators who are just kind of acting independently, and these are convenient dumping spots, right? Which is disgusting.
That's really a gross thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that essential, or like, you know, kind of copycat locations, like you learn in a newspaper that this is a location where someone's body has been left, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, two suspects end up rising to the surface. One of them died in a traffic accident in 1970s, right? He had evidence in his vehicle, such as sadomasochistic drawings that seemed to depict Kim. Now, Kim, if you remember, is the Santa Rosa Junior College student who had disappeared and whose body was found shortly before Jeannette went missing. Now, this man was a creative writing instructor. He was a poet and National Endowment for the Arts recipient, no less. And he had worked as a faculty member at Santa Rosa. And I believe Kim had taken classes with him.
Do we have any reason to believe besides the drawings?
So I think that there might be more evidence that hasn't been released, but this is kind of like publicly what people will share, is that there's these drawings and that these seem to be like of Kim.
Okay.
Now, the second man who was under suspicion, he also died, and there's less that seems to be known about him publicly, like shared. But retired Sonoma County Sheriff Detective Butch Carlstead, he said he had worked on these cases and he believed that these two men were responsible. He said, after those two guys died, there was nothing. No more female homicides. And he added, I bet my money it was them, but it can never be proven. And again, like, just pausing here to emphasize that, like, there are so many theories, but it all amounts to, could it be this serial rapist / maybe killer? Could it be this other person who's committed these other crimes, right? Like, and that there are a plethora of theories because there are so many people committing similar acts of violence, right?
Yeah. It's just, it's a lot.
Yeah. Now, these murders and disappearances continue to haunt investigators for years, even after they retired. Deputy Chief Coroner Tom Seavey was a patrol deputy when the first body was found back in 1972. And in 1979, he actually stood guard over Sonoma County Jane Doe's makeshift grave site while investigators sifted through the dirt looking for evidence. In his office, he kept a clay mask of Sonoma County Jane Doe on his bookshelf. And under his calendar, he kept a flyer of all the photos of the girls and women as a reminder of the work that needed to be done. Now, today there are actually new drawings and new efforts to identify Sonoma County Jane Doe. I know right now that there are other unidentified persons cases in Sonoma County that are with an investigative genetic genealogy company called Onramp. And I hope that there's DNA evidence in this case to move forward with an identification for this Sonoma County Jane Doe. I actually got really excited the other week because I saw Sonoma County Jane Doe like in my feed and I was like, she's unidentified.
No.
But it was a different Sonoma County.
Because there's going to be multiples.
Jane Doe. Yeah, it was
because there seems to be a problem here.
Yeah. Now, after all these years, though, I hope that there are efforts still and that she is brought home. But if we're talking about Jeannette, the closure is so much harder. And I think people have long known that something terrible happened to her. Again, nobody was talking about anything else but that, like, they assumed that she had died. But, like, what resolution can happen without being able to lay her to rest, without any form of justice for her? Like, I'm not sure.
So the one thing that strikes me also as particularly sad with this is you haven't mentioned any quotes from parents or siblings or friends other than Nora and that one guy that saw her. Like, do we not have anything?
There's not. And, like, this is one of those extremely devastating parts. I mean, there are so many devastating parts about creating this podcast, but, like, coming across a story in which there are not those statements by people. There's,
like, I'm sure she was loved, definitely, and we talk about her dad a little bit, but I just wish there was some, like, published quotes or something.
There's really not, and there, despite the fact that this disappearance happened, right, there was, like, so much more coverage of the switchboard,
which, I mean,
is important.
It's very important, but I want to know something about her. I want to know what she liked to do or what she looked like aside from that she didn't have red hair. Like, I just want to know something.
She is, I mean, obviously we'll share her photo with our things, but she is incredibly pretty. She's got this long dark hair, and, like, I posted her photo on my Facebook and someone was like, oh, I like how her eyes look. Yeah. But, like, there was not that kind of investigation that was like, oh, this woman went missing. Like, what is her story? What can we know about her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in contrast right now, because, like, we're recording this week, but I'm also researching other cases for other stories. And in contrast, there's a missing person whose story I'm covering right now. And there are extensive quotes from her family.
And then sometimes we just talk about, like, things they liked or things they did, and we don't have anything here.
Yeah, what was she majoring in? I don't know. What class was she going to that day? I don't know. When did she move to the U.S.? That's
like,
not
what clubs was she in? What did she do for fun?
Like, what did she want to be? What did she...
Right.
Yeah, we don't have those hopes and dreams and background pieces. And it's like when we do stories like this, it's like you can feel that lack, right?
Yeah, so maybe in lieu of getting to know about her, maybe I and all of the listeners can just think about her for a little while.
Yeah.
For the next couple of days and just, like, get some other kind of memory going for her.
Right. And that's actually, part of like why we share these stories.
It is.
Like, and it's the other people, like our listeners, you can share her story. Maybe someone will hear it. Maybe someone will be like, oh no, I knew Jeannette.
Right? If you do, write to us something about her, something you like or you miss.
Yeah. I'd like to know about her.
Me too.
Now, thankfully, we are not going to be alone in thinking about her. The investigators on the case definitely did. And this one struck me. This was a quote from 1989 by Butch Carlstead. Again, he's the former Sonoma County Sheriff Detective. And he said, "You never put any of them away. They stay with you. It's hard to distance yourself and go over and over it in your mind. You take the files out and read them again to see if you missed anything. You never close a homicide case."
We are now going to listen to Amy's poem, Dawn Walking, read by Enya Flack and Megan Peta Hill. Enya Flack is an accomplished American actress, television spokesperson, reporter, and entrepreneur. She is widely known for her role as a series regular on Malcolm and Eddie, and as a star of the series Black Scorpion. Enya's career includes numerous television appearances, with recurring and guest roles in popular series such as Outer Banks, All the Queen's Men, Walker, Long Slow Exhale, The Resident, Bluff City Law, Homeland, Queen Sugar, Rules of Engagement, The Sopranos, The Game, and Ally McBeal. She also gained recognition as a model on the hit game show Deal or No Deal. She currently plays DA Alicia Rods in the hit series All the Queen's Men. Enya's upcoming film, Marbles and Bullets, is set to premiere later this year. Megan Peta Hill is an Australian-born, award-winning, and Leo-nominated actor who has trained and worked professionally in film, television, and theater internationally. Megan has worked on numerous network series including Riverdale, The X-Files, The Flash, Big Sky, Kung Fu, and Supernatural, along with the highly anticipated Obsession, to name a few. Megan also stars in the upcoming comic book adaptation feature film, We Are Zombies, which was awarded Audience Choice Award at Fantasia Film Festival. Upcoming Wattpad feature Boot Camp, theatrically released Apex opposite Bruce Willis, Amazon's Broil, and Lionsgate's Open Water 3, among many others. Megan also has a prolific voiceover career in video games, feature films, narration, and commercials, most notably working on EP Sports, UFC 4, and NFL 21. Warner Brothers animated feature Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite, and HBO Max documentary Persona.
Dawn Walking.
Jeannette Kamahele, 20. Missing since April 25, 1972, from Cotati, California.
Unidentified woman discovered July 2, 1979, from Santa Rosa, California. Listen, it's what we know of this road.
How each blade of roadside grass fights.
The gravel wasteland, our feet blessed.
To survive in this California heat.
While the air shimmers over the tarmac.
Like the specter of our dreams' rainbowed edges.
The way we raise our arms into the sky.
Birds with only one wing extended to catch.
Wind tugging our fingertips aloft into the air.
Our hair, flying forward past our faces.
While everyone speeds past, flashing brakes.
Lights on and off, as the world goes in and out.
A signal. What could we do each morning?
Approaching the cars, the cabs, the caravans.
The truck drivers lumbering to a stop in front of us.
How could we know to look for the tricks?
Their passenger doors already missing handles.
Their guns, tucked along their sides.
When it was already too late to save ourselves.
So we step forward. We get inside.
For more information about our show or to check out other shows on the network, please visit evergreenpodcasts.com. Bye, Vanessa.
Bye, Amy.